mobilization. I want to give it first a biblical foundation. What is resource mobilization? And I looked at 5 scriptures. One of them is, I will not read the scriptures in depth. I will just interpret them. So I looked at a number of scriptures that for me, I found it as an encouragement on issues of resource mobilization. The first one is Nehemiah 2:1-9. We all know the story of Nehemiah when he was told the walls were broken, and he got a report, and that report changed everything he was doing. And the conclusion of it was he made up his mind he was going to go and rebuild. The Lord gave him the favor God gave him favor, and the king supported him. The king asked him, "What do you want?" You can imagine the most powerful person asking you, "What do you want to make your ministry successful?" And for me, the big thing was courage. And I want to say that the first time I needed to ask for money to serve God in Focus or in Park Road Fellowship when I was a chairman once, calling people and telling them to support the camp, calling people to support mission work, just taking that phone call, that courage, that is what Nehemiah needed. And because he did that, God honored it. Now I want to say that resource mobilization requires courage. It requires you to go against the grain, because first of all, you're not asking money for yourself, you're asking money for God. You're actually representing the kingdom of God. And even as you do that, Nehemiah gathered courage, he did it, and God gave him back. So we see one foundation on God's work is that you need to ask. And if you ask, you need to ask courageously. But secondly, we look at Luke chapter 8 and verse 1-3. It's an opportunity. You see, Jesus came to ministry. If you look at Luke chapter 8 and verse 1-3, if you read that whole text, it shows the King of Kings and Lord of Lords. He came to earth and could have easily snapped his fingers to produce untold riches. But instead, he chose to depend totally on God and others to cover his personal and ministry expenses. Jesus was God. Jesus was King. But when he did ministry, God did not produce food for him on the road, pay some hotel expenses for him to sleep in Jerusalem. No. Jesus, though he was King, depended on people. And that shows that God's work works out best when others were on earth. God uses those who are on earth to provide the resources, just like he did. So if you think about Mary Magdalene, you think about Mary, the mother of Jesus, you think about all those people, even the owner of the donkey that Jesus had to ride on in Jerusalem. This is a foundation that shows that actually even Jesus himself depended so much on others. That is Luke chapter 8 and verse 1-3. And then we look at Philippians chapter 4 verse 10-19. We do resource mobilization. Even though the Apostle Paul was homeless and penniless most of the time, he possessed a supernatural peace and contentment very few have. He was thankful to the believers for their financial support, but he did not ask them to give because he had needs. This is how he put it. Not that I seek the gift itself, but I seek for the profit which increases to your account. Verse 17 of chapter 4. In other words, Paul didn't need anything. His motive in asking was strictly for the Philippians' benefit. Whether the believers understood or not, Paul was doing them a huge favor by helping them move some of their earthly treasures to their heavenly bank account. He finishes off by pointing upwards and saying, if I ever did have needs, I would simply go to my Father's bank full of glorious riches to refill mobilization, we are encouraging people to store their wealth in heaven, their focus in heaven, we are making them feel and have another investment, because somebody could either buy a plot or buy a car or buy a house or go for further education, but if they took part of that money and put it in God's work, they have invested in heaven. And so we do resource mobilization. As we raise funds, we are helping people put money where it will not lack value forever. And I can give you a story of that. One time I was talking to a brother when I was working in Focus, and one time I went to him and I told him, my brother, I know before I went to Focus, I was in business, I'm still in business, and I told this brother, he was my friend, and I went to see him and I told him I would like you to give to God for God's work. He told me, fine, I'll give this. He told me he'll give me a check for 20,000, and then actually he gave me 20,000, and then he told me, pray for me, I want my business to grow. In fact, I would like you to come and see me next year. I want to give maybe more than this. I want to give 100K. So the following year I went to see him and I told him, I'm back. I want to believe God has blessed you. You want to give a gift to God? He gave me a check for 100,000. Then he told me, pray for me. Next year I want to add a zero to this 100,000. I said, what? Me who was asking, I was not even having that much faith. So he told me, yeah, see me next year. Now the following year I had already left Focus, and the brother, the one who took over from me, went to see the brother. We agreed they go and see the brother. And the brother gave a donation, I think about 700 or 800,000. I can't remember, but I was told he gave that. Later I called him and asked him, hey, the Lord is really helping you. He told me, no. This is not about God, this is about me. I am feeling every time I give to God, I feel more secure. I feel this is where my money should go. I feel anything I'm making and investing on the other side cannot be compared to what I am doing for God. And it is like he was telling me his biggest store, his biggest investment was not the business success he was having, but what he was continuously investing in God. And I think that's what Paul was telling the Philippians. So even as we go to do fundraising and resource mobilization, we can let people know that we are helping them store in heaven where moth or rust will not destroy. And the other verse is 1 Corinthians chapter 9. We all know that 1 Corinthians chapter 9 talks a lot about giving. And portions of this letter are comprised of Paul defending himself against false accusations from carnal Corinthian church. Some of them claim the apostle was preaching the gospel in order to gain rich. And so he spends most of his chapter laying out the biblical foundation of why he and other Christians deserve to be supported. So if you look at 1 Corinthians chapter 9 and 14, it greatly shows the importance of supporting God's work, and Paul greatly emphasizes it in that. So I would like us to think about those four verses, four areas of scripture: 1 Corinthians, and then Philippians chapter 4, Luke chapter 8, and Nehemiah chapter 2, as areas that help us know why we are doing resource mobilization. Why are we raising funds? We are raising funds because it's an opportunity. We are raising funds because we are helping people store, have a great legacy, and that legacy is in heaven. But much more than everything else, God is helping us to courageously speak for Him, like Nehemiah did. And resource mobilization requires courage, and that's what Paul did. And now we can go straight away to ask ourselves, then why do you need to raise these funds? Why does the KSCF team need funds? I think I want to come up with a number of reasons why the team needs funds. The team, either it's Yandarua, whether it's Nakuru, why do they need funds? I think I identified a number of reasons. I think the first one is to carry out good communication. And let me come back. Plans to carry out good communication. And I would say that on a regular basis, at least monthly, the team members need to get an update ministry on the ministry activities and prayer needs requests. And money is needed to send this request. So I would say, number one, why does a team need funds? It is because of good communication. If a team is going to succeed, they have to communicate, and communication costs money. And on a regular basis, teams must have resources to do good communication. When in my period at KSCF, the 9 years I was there as a chairman, one of the things that we did aggressively from the executive is to ensure that there was regular communication with our partners. And that communication was extremely expensive. Not as expensive as the cost of the convention or the cost of other things, but I can say it was expensive. But we realized the more we communicate, the more we keep people together, the more we move together. And if a team does not have resources to communicate or does not budget to communicate, is not intentional on communicating, it will not grow its funds and it will not be able to do good ministry. And so one thing the team must have is resources that do communication. But secondly, a team needs funds to ensure all missions invitations are taken care of. When schools send invites to the team, leadership must make sure they are attended. Those who attend should be facilitated in case they are not able to finance themselves. The kitty must have funds for that. In other words, if a team is existing and the team is committed to missions, the last thing that should happen is for missions not to take place because people do not have money to go for that mission. Probably this is not happening in your team because everybody who commits to go for a mission uses their own money. But for teams that I have belonged to, what we have made sure is the person going for a mission will support themselves if they say they will. But if they say they do not have the money, there should be enough resources to fuel a car or provide bus fare for the team to go. So once again, the team must have resources for communication, and that is important for missions to be attended. Thirdly is for welfare. There has to be resources for welfare. Members of the team must be able to take care of each other. If a member of a team has a problem, a member of a team loses somebody, I think one of the things that I have found very helpful is to be able to have some little support coming from the team. I know we used to do it when I was a member of Pastoral Fellowship, when I was a member of North Nyandarua Evangelistic Team in the 80s, when I was there of KSCF. We were not able to give everybody nationally in KSCF a gift from the kitty, but we were able to give a few, and out of those few, you see the element of ownership that comes after that. But there's one more item I want to mention. A team must have resources, which I have not written down here. A team must have resources to be able to do its core mission. Some of the missions like evangelism, discipleship, training, the LPDs, there should always be resources for such. And because as we talk about resource mobilization, I thought it is important I say what the money is for. And I have pointed out 4 items that are so key. Are we together? Are we together, each one of us? Can I hear an amen? If I am talking to...
Yes, we are.
Amen. Saying if you will let me proceed on then. Alright. So I have talked about it enough. You can mute your mic if you're here. I can see you're hearing me. The other thing I want to discuss is how to mobilize. Fine, I have talked about money. You need money for all that. I have given it a foundation. Then I have said what for. I have said for welfare, I have said for financing the LTDs, I have said for making sure missions are taken care of, but I have said the whole element of communication. But next to that is then how do you mobilize? How do you make sure that money comes? I think I want to begin with items that for me were a priority. When I was taught fundraising, I was told that people don't give money to blind situations. Members and associates will support projects. They want clarity, my members, on what they plan to do. The current leadership of the county needs to share what they plan to do each year. Using historical data and projection. What I mean by historical data, look at what has been done in the past and project what needs to be done in the future. For example, we will host 5 LTDs. Maybe last year you did 2 LTDs. We expect to visit 150 schools or 8 next year, because last year probably the team was able to do 130 missions or 120 missions, and because of schools growing, maybe you'll do 150, and then we need to have 2 prayer retreats. For year 2021, we will need 150,000. Share the needs and ask members to pray and commit to support. I cannot overemphasize what I have just said. Don't just ask for money. Ask for money to support what is clear. I think I will not say more than that. Secondly, members' continued support is sustained by good accountability. The moment you're given 150,000 in 1 year, next year don't try asking for more before you account for that 150,000. Each month, let the treasurer share what has been given and what has been spent. At the end of the year, ensure there is an annual member meeting where the 150,000 raised will be accounted to the last shilling. Good character by the leadership attracts good, exceptional support. I said this, I think the last 5 years I was chair of KSCF. There was something I tried drumming up. I would say I may not have 100% succeeded with the 47 counties, but I do know some counties have picked that up. Get audited for your accounts. You don't have to pay for the audit. You can even get associates who are called to auditing to come and audit your accounts, because the moment you account to the shilling, people will generate trust. And when they generate trust, they will give you. But the moment you don't explain, people will see a cloud, and that cloud denies you a lot of resources. So thank you, Adrian and Brother John Nganga, for inviting me to the teams I'm speaking to. I am saying it again. Account, account, account. Ask and account. And the more you account, the more people see how, because money is hard to come by. It's easy to give away 10,000, 5,000, 1,000. That 1,000 can do a lot. People can buy a chicken, and that chicken will grow and become several cuckoos after some time. But if they give you money and you don't account for it, surely you are not being a good steward. So I cannot overemphasize this, that we need to account for money we are given. Thirdly, we need to do reminders. You will be given money if you remind people. Most generous believers are targets of several groups and need from all areas. Keep appreciating and reminding them. If somebody says they're going to be giving you 500 shillings per month and they will be doing an M-Pesa every month, and maybe as a way of making them give consistently, use the method of appreciating every gift. Say thank you every time they give. And if they are falling out, you can even remind them, but if you will always appreciate, you can appreciate with you say thank you to the partner and say that we will keep letting you know what your gift has done, even as the Lord continues using you to support this ministry. And next time, this is what we plan to do, and we are looking forward to your continued support. When I was but I would do that. And that kept the ministry receiving money from individuals, because they not only got a thank you, a receipt from the office, but the General Secretary personally appreciated with an email or a letter or a phone call. And sometimes there would be as many as 300. But because I was working with my secretary, we would find a way in which they would help me, that the message would come from me. So reminders is one way of mobilizing. Remember, we're talking about mobilizing. Eh? So if you remind people, it's one way of mobilizing. If you become accountable, it's one way of mobilizing. If you have a good plan, that's one way of mobilizing. Other methods are there of mobilizing. Sale of literature with a commission for the team serves dual purpose: spiritual growth for members and revenue for the team. As you all know, I'm a publisher, and I do books, and the ministries I have worked for, like Living Bibles and Bible Society, who have interacted with Scripture Union, a lot of their support comes from literature. So literature does two things. One, it helps people grow spiritually, and secondly, it provides revenue. But you have to work out the mathematics so that you are having good revenue. And then sale of stationery, t-shirts, pens, etc. And even partnership with vendors during camps. Don't just invite people to come and sell mandazis and everything. Let them come and sell mandazis, but tell them each mandazi they sell, or charge them some, and that money should come to the people. And that's another way of mobilizing. So there are many other ways, but I've come up with 4 that I could think about in my mind, and all that. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Right. So I am proceeding on, and then I want to give generally three other, your biggest resource apart from money. Your other biggest resource are the members. You know, you can have a lot of money but no members. So how do you show your team is strong? Okay? How do you make sure that kids will always have enough people? You don't go for your general meeting, you're only 11, you know? And people are wondering what happened to serving God. I want to say 3 things, but I want to zero in on one of them we have put in the center, and it will be what I will zero in a lot once the conclusion of my discussion. I want to talk about good leadership. Maxwell said that everything rises and falls on leadership. And I want to say that it is important that the team focuses on good leadership. Pray for your leaders. Your leaders must be committed to a number of things. The first one is good character, which is right at the center of any ministry. Good character. Secondly, they must know where they are going. Where are you taking the group? And I talked about that right from the beginning, all right? And thirdly, are they committed? Are they committed to the members? So one, good leadership is important. Good leadership will make sure that the team is strong. So pray about your pray for your leaders. The leaders who are there now know that you are the glue that holds the members together. You can have a lot of money, but you have no members. And that will be a challenge. So as leaders, I want to challenge you to take care of yourselves. Commit yourself to faithfully following Christ. Trust God to have good character. We have good materials that can help you on issues of character. But good leadership will attract good and many members. Number 3, I will not go to number 2 because number 2 I want to spend a lot of time on it. Number 3 is pay attention to proper policies that I did not finish that sentence. Pay attention to proper policies. Okay. Every team should have like a constitution. constitution, you know, you need to have policies that guide you. What is your team about? Okay, what are the policies of you're following? If you do not have any policies, you can actually connect with the head office. The policies on ministry, policies on hiring, SNA, policies on resource mobilization, policies on elections. You know, all these things are important. You know? And if you don't have that, again, you may not have good members. Because if you have members who come and somebody becomes a chair, and when it is time to leave, they are not willing to leave, you know. One of the things that greatly helped me when I left university is to join Packard Fellowship. The Packard Fellowship was a fellowship that had existed for many years. It had very serious and strict policies. For example, you could only become a chair for a maximum of 2 years. You could never go beyond there, you know. And then it had a constitution, it had a team, it had various offices, you know, a chairman's office, vice chair, treasurer, secretary. It had a follow-up office, you know, and then it had a counter of excellence, you know. There were things, but there was actually what we call a fellowship handbook. All these things made the fellowship what it was. And up to today, almost 40 years later, the fellowship what it is. Why? Because it has good policies. Then you need to ask yourself, what are some of the policies of our team? And if you don't have any, just ask the head office. You can actually use the head office, but cascade them down to your team. That again will attract members, because you will be working with a team that knows what they are doing. But finally, be a strong team that is focused on the core. And I want to conclude by spending more time on that. Because I run a company called Team Solutions Africa, and one of the reasons why I started this company
Two things.
I did very many consultancies.
Number one was to greet you, and I think that I should do that more regularly than I have done. You can't hear me?
Seriously disunited, and they do not focus on working together.
If you can't hear me, there is no need to continue. I can call tomorrow.
How good a strategy is.
Let me call tomorrow, God willing.
That is why I love what Jesus did in John 17. One of the things he did, he prayed for this place to be one.
Because like now I called at 6, believing that I had has already eaten.
Resource mobilization on money. I am concluding with members, and I'm saying,
you're on your way.
Keep you going. To have members, but members who are working.
You went straight together.
So I want to focus on resource mobilization as
I'm number 2. I'm still insisting on the medical. If you don't want to join Jubilee, please tell me which one you are joining. I'm paying, and I do not accept a no for an answer. It's my gift.
I think I would say number 1.
So if you think you have a cheaper option, please tell me. I've already set the money aside.
On Genesis 11 and verse 5 and 6, it says, but the Lord came down.
No. That's all. That's my gift to you, and I think a medical is the best gift I can give you.
Same language they have begun to do this.
So please talk with your husband. I'll call again tomorrow.
And what is teamwork?
Don't give me an answer alone. Please talk with your husband, and please understand you have not asked me for it. You are not. It's nothing to do with you. It's me deciding. And especially it's a present to my granddaughter. But you need to have one medical scheme. So I do not think, and I have not bought her anything substantial so far.
And it concludes in verse 3 by saying, for there the Lord bestows his blessing even life forever.
That's what I'm saying. I'm buying for the 3 of you. But I'm especially concerned about my granddaughter.
This is what you need to do. If you do this, you will.
Whichever way, please get up. Tomorrow I'll ask you which one. Thank you.
A lot of resources.
Have a good night.
And you need to ask yourself 3 questions as you think about working together. ask yourself some questions. One of the questions is to ask yourself, what are some of the critical gaps between where we are and where we want to go? So if you really want to enhance your growth, ask yourself one of those questions. What are some things we need to do together? Okay, but secondly, what are some of the major achievements or goals that have been elusive to your team as a result of shortcomings? As you think about your group and where you may be going through challenges, what are some things that have been elusive? Why is it that KEAT is not where you wanted it to be 5 years ago? What is it that is making you not get there? What are some of your shortcomings? Okay? Is it because of leadership? Is it because of transfers of people? Is it because of lack of commitment? Is it because of resources? Is it because of, I don't know, what are those shortcomings that have made you not be able to get where you want to be? But thirdly, what are some of the deliberate sacrifices, action plans the team needs to make today to get where they want to be? And as you look at the picture I have presented to you people, I have presented a picture of two runners who are running. One of them has no hands, the other one has hands. But the one who has no hands is being helped by the one with hands. And because of that, they'll be able to go very far now. And I think what teachers in the area are looking for is, how much are you supporting each other? How much are you, what make a Christian teacher who is not a member of KEAT join? Maybe they will come and hear the way one member is being taken care of by the others. Maybe they will come and watch, watch the amount of love. Yes, I was given a very interesting story about one of our members. I am an elder in a church, and the other day, sometimes last year, one of members lost their brother, and the entire church was so helpful to that member that the dad of that home, who is not a Christian, the moment the funeral finished, he came to the pastor and told the pastor, I want to be a member of Karanja Baptist Church because I have not seen the kind of love I know. Members coming to my home, I want to be a member of this church and I want to give my life to Christ. And I would want to say that some of the sacrifices we made for the team, or we made for students, some of the sacrifices we make out there could attract other Christian teachers. And to become members of the Christian Union, not the Christian Union, but the team. And so the question we need to ask ourselves as we think about bringing more members, because we are looking at members as one of our biggest resources, with the sacrifices we are making for each other, the sacrifices we are making for the action plans, sacrifices we are making for for the goal that we have, for the commitment we have. And so, in general, we are saying teamwork is the ability to work together towards a common vision, the ability to direct individual accomplishments towards organizational objectives. It is the fuel that allows common people to accomplish uncommon goals. I have been invited to speak to you about resource mobilization to these teams. And if you want to achieve something that is going to be not common, all right, not usual, just remember Genesis 11:5 and 6. Just together what Maxwell is saying. He's saying teamwork is the fuel that allows common people to accomplish uncommon goals. And Genesis 11 and verse 5 and 6, God said, if as one people speaking the same language, they have begun to do this, then there is nothing you try to do that will be impossible. One of the things that I greatly enjoyed as the chairman of KSCF is the unity we had with the executive committee members. We worked together. In my 9 years, in the 9 years I was there, we never had a period of disagreement, disunity, one camp fighting another camp, or one brother not agreeing with another brother. And we not only had unity in the executive and in the council members, but there was great synergy and working together between the executive committee and the secretariat. We gave our general secretary a lot of support and his team. He felt like we were one group, the executive committee and the secretariat. And there was no air of matuskizani. And I guess that is why the Lord has continued blessing the ministry, and He will continue blessing the ministry. Because working together means you people, and the same people will release their resources for the glory of God. So I do not go beyond that because I want to allow questions, and I can say about some of the things I have shared because you have watched me. Many of you have worked with you for many years, for those 9 years. But I want to conclude by saying the key characteristics of teams, or the thing that you need to look for so that you can work well is that number one is clear purpose. The team, what is your purpose? And remember how I began my presentation? This was Mobilization begins with clarity on a project. But secondly, participation. Alright? If you really want to have a good team, let people participate. We made sure in the executive, in KSCF, there was maximum participation between me, the GS, and the chair and other members. We really made sure everybody was participating. But thirdly, if you want to have a team that is working well, learn to listen to one another. Listen to each other. Don't just go for meetings and a person speaks, and when they speak, what he says, it is better that he didn't even speak because it doesn't make a difference. And then the other one is, of course you may have disagreements, but those disagreements should not go beyond that room. They must be civilized. Even though we work together as an executive, that does not mean we agreed 100%. But members never got to know that because we had the principle of collective responsibility. And that means that whatever we agreed as an executive, it never went together difference even if there was a disagreement. And that helped the partners because if one of those parties just given a lot of resources learned that there's disagreement in the executive committee, that would have really affected resource mobilization and membership. And then, of course, there's consensus decisions. You have to agree. You must agree together in whatever you do. There's open communication, clear roles and work assignments, and then shared leadership. So, Amen, are you there? Is everyone there?
Yes.
Yeah, so I want to, we are listening. Muko na mimi haya, nashukuru Mungu. So I am now coming towards the end because I have been told to speak for some time and then allow some time of questions and interactions because as a teacher I want to scratch where it is hitting. So my role was to talk about those items, and I think I can say much more. I have many stories, but for now I would rather the stories come as I am being asked questions. So let's be like Nehemiah. Let us be courageous to ask. Go and ask the governor of Nakuru, the governor of Nyandarua, vaa koti, kama unaenda kuhubiri, unaenda kuenda wambia governor, you have a meeting for students, and tell them you want him to support that meeting. The worst he can do is say no, alright? But like Nehemiah, get funded by the county government. I mean, go and talk to what do you call them? Flower farms in Naivasha. Go and talk to them and tell them you want to try and finance one of your projects as KSCF. The worst they can do is say no. And you know the Bible says, ask and you shall receive. Seek and you will find. Knock and the door will be open. So be courageous like Nehemiah. Nehemiah could have just asked for permission and then he goes. Alright? But secondly, like I said, let us give people an opportunity to store their wealth in heaven. That is what Paul said. So do that. Some of my best friends today are people who I was very scared to talk to when I was in KSCF or in focus. And I talked to them, then they gave to the ministry, and they are still giving to it. And because of that, I've become my very good friends. Why? Because I taught them to invest in heaven. As the ministry of KSCF is shining in MVCI, they are saying, I am investing in the ministry. And so made me a partner. So, but again, remember that I have said, people find clarity. They find clarity. And if they find clarity, they want you need to be very clear what is it that you're asking people to find. So don't just go there and do fundraising. Have a clear plan. What is the money for? Like now, you know these days in this era of WhatsApp, unajipata kwa group. And before, when someone puts me in the group, I always find out who is the administrator. And I call them, so my brother, you put me in this group. What is it about? If you arrange money, what is it for? Why didn't you ask me for permission to be in the group? You know, I ask those questions. And if they are very clear to me, I will stay in the group. But if they don't become clear, I'll tell them, you know, my brother, one thing I don't like giving publicly. Secondly, I believe that if I will give you this money, you will have to account for it. Are you ready for that? So if somebody does say is not ready, I don't give them because if you don't account, it will not work well. So I think I'll stop there because I want to allow questions. So Adrian, back to you. Thank you for allowing me to share my stories. And may the Lord bless you. I'm ready to answer a few questions.
Amen. Thank you, Brother Martin. And we really appreciate. There are 3 questions that I've already come. I won't take much time to express myself. First question. Okay, there is first of all a request for the notes. I believe you will share. But 3 questions go like this. How do we recruit new members? Maybe we share of strategies of how we can recruit new members. And then the second question is, in every team, none is ever willing to come and measure what can be done. All selected in that office, we feel inadequate. Maybe you have empowered in one way or another, but like to share a concept of this. And the third question, how do we package ourselves when approaching a governor or an organization for support? How do we package ourselves when we are approaching a governor or an organization for support? Kindly, first of all, once as we wait for more to come in.
Okay, I want to begin. You can hear me, Adrian, and the team?
Yes,
Can you hear me?
Yes, you're audible.
I want to begin with how do you recruit members? I think you can organize, I will give you examples of what sometimes we do in my church, what we used to do in Passport Fellowship, what we used to do in KEAT. Was it? No, it was called NET. North Nyandarua Evangelistic Team. Every year, people get posted to the area. Okay? And one way of recruiting members is organizing a teachers freshers bash. See the way I've called it, teachers freshers bash.
and you invite all the new Christian teachers who have come. You can organize a lunch or a dinner or a whole day, and then what every teacher will do in their school is to look for the new teachers who have been posted there who are Christians. Some of them are fresh from campus, and so they will go for that lunch. And because every year new people come to the district, and they are posted from KU, they are posted from Jomo Kenyatta, and if you do that every year, there will be an opportunity for people to be invited. And when they come for that meeting, the meeting should be focused on them, okay? So you share the vision. I don't know whether some of you remember the meeting we had at Word of Life, and I was asked by the GS, or we agreed with the GS, that in every year's meeting, we need to share the vision, the mission, and the values of KSCF, and how we are doing it, so that once every year, even KSCF National Office, in one of their meetings, they must keep sharing the vision. Why? Because every year there are new leaders, and those leaders may not know the values of KSCF, the vision of KSCF. So in the same manner, when you have this freshers bash or freshers, what you call it, induction, and make it a big one, and celebrate these guys, welcome them from college, welcome them from another district. Yeah, if you don't invite people, they will not come. So I have given you one idea, but in your next leaders meeting, you can have brainstorming on how to do it. Of course, you can have the invitation. But secondly, after that, you need to follow up so that those people who have been invited, there is somebody who will follow them up and make sure that they keep coming for those meetings by involving them and by also keeping them attached. I have answered that question. Now, why don't people want to become treasurers in teams? I think there could be a discipleship problem because, I don't know, I would say that, God's work is not compulsory. People have to be called. And I think in the team, you need to look for opportunities. When you're having elections, all right, don't just come for a meeting in elections. You can have a meeting before that where somebody comes to share on the joy and the beauty of serving God. So that the day you have elections, you have had some training on what it is to be a leader and the joy of service. Yeah, because no one, even when God called people, they were not running to him to say, oh, you've been looking for me and here I am. Jeremiah said, Jeremiah did not accept initially. Moses refused 5 times. So I think there is an element of conviction that is needed, but it comes through a process. And as a team, you need to think about when you're doing a handover or change of elections, have some build-up or helping people appreciate the joy and the opportunity of service. And that's what we do in our church sometimes. Before elections, we have a series of sermons whereby people come and share on the joy and beauty of service. People testify of God's joy in all that. So, and I'm not just thinking about the role of treasurer and all that. But the other thing is, some of these positions, people, when they volunteer, people have to be encouraged. I never applied to be the chair of KSCF. Neither did I apply to be the general secretary of Focus. If I had been given the opportunity, I would never have seen myself as qualified or that is a very high position. But people who I respected, people who are my mentors, people who
it's okay. It's not a good thing to say, but I thought like in the hierarchy of God, walikuwa juu kidogo. Some of them came and told me they were sent, all right? And because I looked at them as God is sending these people, and around that time, most of the time as I pray, you know, I felt like, yeah, God would be calling me to that. I accept. So what I'm trying to say is the current leadership, all right, need to identify people long before you have the meeting whereby people are confirmed as treasurer or as chair or secretary. I do not come from the school of thought of voting people in. I come from the school of thought of whereby people are nominated and presented, because God's work is not about qualification, it's about a call, it's about the Spirit of God. Yeah, I don't know whether I'm communicating, and I don't know who would want to say amen to what I'm saying. Does anyone agree with me with you? That's my conviction. Because God's work is not about qualification, either voting. I believe in being appointed, nominated by people led of God who are older than me. Amen. 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 I know I could be nakanyaga vitu zingine huko chini. Even in KSCF, people who became treasurer or who became chairman, who became alpha members, we really don't do voting. We do a lot of use. In my 9 years, we used to do a lot of talking to people. That's how you do Passover leadership. Moses was not voted in, Joshua was not voted in, Peter was not voted in. These are people who God called through his servants. The next question is about governor for support. Dress well. Present yourself as one in excellence. Do your best to present yourself as one approved. A workman who is not ashamed of his work. Even the preacher governor, please go and do a good job. You don't go to the governor's office in the morning. You go to the governor's office 2 weeks before you do an appointment. All right? You do your research, find out whether in his cabinet kama kuna support inaweza kuja kwa KSCF. Then so you do some groundwork before. You don't just go and just say you want money for KSCF. No. You do a bit of groundwork. You find out the kind of projects they're supporting. If there is budget from the national government that can help these kind of things, you can even talk about that. And then, remember, politicians are there because of their interests. So you need to show how does KSCF contribute to the county integrated development plan. Every county, the government requires that every county have a CIDP, County Integrated Development Plan, before they are given money. And you, as a leadership team, need to read the CIDP for your county and see where you can plug in and make some improvement to the county through what we're doing. And so when you go to ask for funds, you're not just asking for funds to go to speak in schools. You're going to ask for funds because you're going to speak to schools, and those funds will help the schools in your district develop in certain areas. Spirituality is one of them, but also leadership, something like that. So that the governor can see that you're also partners. Yeah, so that the governor will actually say, I'm not losing money, I'm actually supporting my own people who are already engraved in schools. So you need to do a bit of work, go with a paper and a proposal and an actual financial request. Say we are looking for $500,000 or 1 million or 2 million, and this is how we are going to use it. And you remember the way Nehemiah went, he did not go blindly, he went with a clear plan of what he wanted the money for. And so the king just said yes, and he was saying yes to a plan. So the same way applies to a governor. And because God has given us, some of the governors were teachers. So you people can also become governors. You have the same brains, it's just that you're not there right now. And some of them don't even go for further education. They're just the same people. So you have the same brain that can actually run a county, just have anyone else in the team. I don't know that Jumana is in. I believe he is. He could also add. He is my mentor, and I'm thinking he might add one or two things on the answer to some of these questions. Adrian, back to you.
Thank you. Karibu Bwana Nganga. We have 4 minutes to go. So, Bwana Nganga, you can make some remarks.
Maybe I say 3 things. Number 1, that I'm in agreement with what my friend Martin has said. Anyway, we have been together for more than that a year, so it's not surprising that we would say the same things. Number 2, one of the things I keep emphasizing is continuous recruitment. What happens when the team gets big and it has enough number of people, it creates a club where anybody trying to come from outside is seen as an outsider. Once he enters, the group stops talking because they don't know how to handle an outsider. And it sounds like it's disturbing. So once they enter the first meeting, they may never come back because they feel like they're intruding into a very personalized thing. In order to avoid that, you need to make it like your aim to bring in a new person every term, somebody new. And they are there. You approach him first time, he doesn't occur. You approach second time until one day he agrees to come. And the style of approaching must be exactly the way he has said. To me, that's very important. Number 2, we need to ensure that everybody is involved in recruitment. It's not the work of the committee of the team. Why? People want to see somebody like them. So if you left university 1 year ago, and I left university more than 40-something years ago, the person who is coming in, a new graduate, will feel more comfortable with you. So if I try to recruit, I'll have a challenge as compared to you. So when the committee, which is made up of older people, is the one recruiting, you end up with some certain people not getting recruited because of that. So we need, everybody needs to be given. In Gideon, and we normally, in Gideon, we call it one-on-one. Everybody should try to bring one person per year. So that means everybody. And people tend to bring their type when they are bringing people. And my third point is you must change leadership. You must change leadership. More than 2-3 years. In fact, when I was the chairman of KSCF, 3 years was maximum. You know, later, but it was not written anywhere. It was us in my generation who introduced the idea of limited number of years. Finally, it was debated in a council and the AGM made it 9 years. But originally we said 3 years because the person who hands over does not go away. They continue with the same team. And because he is still in the same team, like if the team chairman in Nakuru has handed over and he is still in the team, if the new chairman is having difficulties, he will privately, quietly keep helping him. And the team will become even stronger. So the team at one time will be full of chairmen. Everyone has been a chairman. And that way they gain some level of responsibility and understanding the challenges. So having one person for long is a very good way of killing the team. And you keep wondering why new people are not coming. And by the way, to be fair to the person who is keeping there, when you are the leader, you have to sacrifice your family, you have to sacrifice your career promotions, whatnot, because you are spending a lot of time on it. Sure, it's unfair to make one person sacrifice when the team has 10 people. And that's really what Martin said, and I'm supporting him. Those are my 3 points.
Thank you, Brother Nana. I really appreciate your contributions. I would desire to invite Madam Purity, if you're able to speak to us, she'll make her conclusion remarks as our county chair and also pray for us because time is up. So Purity, karibu sana.
So can you hear me?
Yes, you are audible. I will proceed.
Oh, very good. Thank you so much, Brother Adrian. I really thank God for these seminars that you've been having. They are so impacting and they are an eye-opener. And I bless the Lord for our brother Martin for for such a good presentation. I was actually wishing we were many of us in this forum, because resource mobilization is quite a big challenge in our county. And I like what he has said when he began by talking about that brother who kept on saying, pray for me, next year I want to give more. Pray for me, next year I want to give more. But I believe each one of us would want to be given more and also give more and more. It's such a blessing to give. So I leave the meeting having been blessed and impacted. And my prayer is that we shall remain a team, and therefore we shall remain blessed, and that God will help us, that we will always work together towards one goal. So the Lord God bless you, even Brother Nganga and Brother Adrian, for organizing for these seminars. I think they are very, very important. I believe we shall continue having them. And I also request that if possible, maybe we can call the other patrons, even if we put it in the wall. I want to commit myself to call a number of them and ask them to join. I don't know if they are fearing this new technology. I trust that God will speak to them so that they will also be impacted just as we are. So those are my closing remarks. So